For this episode of Let's Talk Jinx, we're talking about patch 12.19 notes, because every 2 weeks we talk about the patch in case there are changes to Jinx or other AD carries that might change Jinx's lane matchups. And for this episode on this Wednesday, in which case I do not write a script, and one of the things I noticed though, however, that I'm trying to lean into for y'all is that there is a Jinx change for the first time in 17 episodes. So we're actually going to start with that, but then we're going to go over the other AD carries as well, and then you can make an AD carry tier list in the comment section down below with the information you learn in this video. So first and foremost, if we scroll down to Jinx, Jinx's base AD is being increased, and the R base damage to primary target is also being increased. Jinx hasn't been her usual chipper, chaotic self recently, so we're giving her a bit more explosive power in the form of base damage buffs. Now, you're a patch late, Riot, for Worlds. This would have been nice literally one patch ago. Would have been great. Jinx has been picked at Worlds, mind you, but it's that thing what happens on group stages and play-ins where a bunch of champions get played and it gets watered down to 2 champions per role being played for the rest of the tournament. I don't think we're going to see Jinx again, personally. I hope so. I'd love to be wrong. But with that being said, the base damage, attack damage is going from 57 to 59, and when it comes to the Super Mega Death Rocket, the base damage to the primary target is going from 250, 400, and 550 to 300, 450, and 600. And remember, this also includes execution damage, which means missing health damage. It's not an execute in terms of there's a little line on someone's health bar and all that good stuff, but there is the whole, of course, if they're missing 2/3 of their health, especially at max rank and max distance, they're probably going to die from this thing, whether it does 600 damage or more, which is one of the things that's fun about playing Lethality Jinx. I won't get into all that too much, but for fun modes, that's part of why Lethality Jinx is kind of disgusting, is because if they're missing even 1/4 of their health, and you're kind of fed with a couple items, the Super Mega Death Rocket might take half a health bar off a squishy target, if not the entire health bar. It's wild. But anyways, these are some nice changes. One of the things that this will change immediately is basically everything. Everything you do damage with Jinx will have a little bit extra damage because this is base damage. It's not based off of bonus damage, nothing like that. CSing is going to be interesting too, because that means last hitting. If you've been hitting people and they've been living with a sliver of health and the minions and stuff, they'll die probably, most likely. That's one of the nice things about this as well. And also cross-map plays with the Super Mega Death Rocket. People might be willing to try that more often to see if they can snipe someone across map with it, because it also, has a little bit more damage, and if it's more damage to the primary target, meaning that it does do AoE damage. So if you're firing at 3 people, it can kill all 3 of those people because of the AoE. It's a missile. It's gonna hit somebody, explode in the AoE. So you can actually kill multiple people with this ultimate ability, but it'll do more damage to that primary target, which might be all you need to get the resets going, and then maybe you can get the other targets with your rocket launcher. Who knows? I like these changes as a Jinx player. I don't think they're necessarily annoying if you're going against Jinx, because again, especially with the ultimate change, if you're not the primary target, this bonus damage is not going to actually affect you at all. So there you go. With that being said, if we round back up for other AD carry changes, or even some support changes that might be happening, right? Blitzcrank is getting some, it looks like a base attack speed increased, attack speed ratio increased, W mana cost increased, bonus attack speed increased, now empowers auto attacks while active, E mana cost increased, knockup duration increased, AP scaling increased, R passive attack limit removed, on hit stack damage AP ratio increased, R active AP scaling now increases with rank. Okay, so there's a lot here, but in short, it looks like there's a lot of buffs that also mean durations are going up on things, but also means the mana costs are going up on things. So if you're playing against a Blitzcrank, the usual thing I always say is, especially if you're a newer player, the cooldown on that hook that everyone fears, especially the early lane phase, is a good, 12 seconds? It might be up to 22 even, but I pretend it's 12 seconds. And the point is, if he launches that hook and misses it, you don't have to fear him for at least another 11 seconds. So it's a good 10 seconds of safety that you have now dealing with that Blitzcrank. Unless he's running down your face, he's trying to hit you with the E because the jungler's coming to gank and you're pushed up far in lane. But otherwise, that hook has a cooldown. It's not Earth. You can't just fire it out every so often. You do have some safety as long as you're dodging that. But if you're playing with a Blitzcrank, what's interesting about this, there's a lot here. Attack speed is being increased. Attack speed ratio is going to be increased. When it comes to the overdrive, when he slows down, the attack duration during that is an additional 1% of the target's max HP and stuff like that. The knockup's going to be a whole second now instead of a part of a second. The static field even is doing some, it's going to be unlimited passive stacks instead of 3 now. So playing with the Blitzcrank as a Jinx, for example, could be nice with an all-in combo. The hook into the flame chompers, into the knock-up, into maybe even the zap if you want to go there, into his ultimate, into your ultimate. Like, this might be a nice kill lane, a Jinx Blitzcrank like the old days, to go with the Jinx buffs. That's pretty nice. But again, if you're playing against this, as long as you dodge the hook, it looks like most of the damage you can avoid. So dodge the hook. And when the hook's gone, you're safe for like a good 10 seconds at least. Keep that in mind. Let's see if we scroll. Oh, there's Jinx again. So Jinx versus Jinx. No, I'm kidding. Unless you're playing like blind pick or something, in which case, good luck. Kai'Sa, meanwhile, passive AP ratio increased. Now this one's interesting because they kind of nerfed AP Kai'Sa earlier in the year. They didn't like how strong it was. Then they slowly buffed AP Kai'Sa back up again. And testing this as is, I did an ARAM game where I got Kai'Sa, just because I know she's more annoying on ARAM than even on the Rift, of course. And sure enough, yeah, that damage is actually still disgusting once they buffed it back up, and now the passive AP ratio is getting increased even more. Now, granted, in this particular game we lost. It was a very close battle, to be fair. My teammates were pretty good. We had 3 tanks and a Jhin, which is part of why I went AP Kai'Sa, because it's like we would be all AD, and they did have a tank, so I didn't want them to just be able to build armor and screw us over. To be fair, in my defense, that's why I did it. But that, furthermore, with that being said, where I'm going with this is, it already was, like, once you get the enough AP that you can get the upgraded W and stuff, it's kind of gross. So now they're making it so the AP passive ratios are being even increased. For a marksman who can flex between multiple builds, AP Kai'Sa has been quite weak since her nerfs a few patches ago. We're giving her AP build some strength back in a way that won't lead her to W spamming ways again. Too late, Riot. Like, that's all you want to do with AP Kai'Sa. You like, want to be a longer range Nidalee. If you're playing AP Kai'Sa, it's because your team has too much AD probably, in which case you want to balance that out, and that's a really good ability to balance that out with. But nonetheless, I don't think this will be a tear on the Rift, however. I do think if there's just other better AP champions to play, if you're playing like mid lane, play Victor or something. And on ARAM, it's like a for fun build that can get body because all your damage really is on the W. Her Q does AP damage. Her shield on her ultimate even has AP ratios. Her E, I believe, is a speed up mainly anyways. That's all everyone uses it for. But what I'm saying is if you miss that W, it's kind of whatever. So I wouldn't say this is a thing that makes it go, okay, we're going W spam on everything always. Summoner's Rift, ARAM, Twisted Tree Line. Just kidding. But yeah. So if you're playing against this with Jinx, you probably don't have to worry about W spam. You probably don't have to worry about the AP ratio being increased all that much. The matchup is probably still the same at this point in time. I'm thinking about if there's anything like mixed builds, I guess, maybe, but still, it'll be a while before a mixed build really gets going. Not really in the laning phase where you're going to be playing against this the most as Jinx. So, ooh, Malphite, Master Yi, Gnosis, Nunu, Rakan. Yes, Rakanda forever. Here we go. Passive AP scaling increase, Q AP scaling increase. So basically there are a small number of people out there that are AP Rakan enjoys, and we want you to know that we see you. These buffs are for you. Also support Rakan could use the help as well. So yeah, basically when he goes in with his combo, the Gleaming Quill specifically, if he lands that, right, let's see, he goes in, he tries to knock you up, he misses, but he hits the Q. It's gonna be like a little bit extra damage. Same if you're playing with a Rakan. Most likely though, because there's a difference though. If you're playing with the Rakan, you have flame chompers. So either you hit the flame chompers and then he hits his knockup, or he hits his knockup and you hit your flame chompers. Either way, it'll probably be a more guaranteed hit, and it's just a little bit more trade damage, which can be nice, right? Like Rakan's kind of like, he's not a tank, right? He's more of like an engage, enchanter even kind of a thing. Enchanters usually have some damage on them. That's what makes them annoying. Kind of like mage supports. Remember mage supports back in like season 8 or even before that, right? So yeah, this could be a thing that could allow the all-in to be a little bit more effective, which is kind of nice, especially I guess if Rakan's playing with Azaya specifically, but even if not, that's kind of nice. What this won't do is bring back AP mid Rakan from like 2 years ago. Probably not. No. Let's see if we keep scrolling down. Sona as a support, so Q base damage increased, power chord E slow increased. So it's kind of the same note over and over and over, pun intended, because Sona. But a lot of these are just kind of like, hey, when you're doing your all-in combo, when you're trading a bit more, these things can kind of poke you down if you're playing against them with Jinx, but also be advantageous if you're playing with them as Jinx with your all-in, going again with Jinx's buffs as well. So even though it's like a little bit of base damage here and a little bit of this here and a little bit of this here, it adds up to a, hey, if you guys are good at your combo, it might be really good, especially if the lane is really squishy. Also, Sona's pretty squishy, so if you're playing against Sona, they still don't buff her health ever. So you can kind of chip her down bit by bit. With Thomas Kincheth, The Q AP ratio is being increased, and the W AP ratio is also being increased. Tom Kitch has never really been a thing, or AP Tom has never been a thing until now. Maybe this is really an experimental build, so we'll see how this goes. If it works out, Tom will be a bit more squishier than you're used to, but he'll do a lot more damage than he's already doing on his trade-ins. He might just solo the AD carry for you if you're playing against this. Or if you're playing with this, and if you're playing against this, make sure to just, like Blitzcrank kind of, dodge the Q. Twitch. Passive AP scaling increased, AE AP scaling increased. So they're buffing AP versions of champions as well. Waiting for those AP Flame Chomper buffs next patch, then Riot for Jinx. But with that being said, Twitch has always been one of the more annoying AD carries to play against as Jinx, because the E-Contaminate specifically will slow you down, ruin your attack speed, even though you have it built up in your minigun. And kind of give Twitch a little bit of an advantage there. But this is a lot of AP damage specifically, which I don't think he's going to be building if you're versing him in lane. So with that being said, the matchup is basically the same, unless for some reason you open tab and you see he's building like a Luden's Echo or something, then run for your life, because he's going to be very deadly if he does this. But most likely, this is like more of a jungle thing, maybe a mid thing to kind of cheese people. Not really, maybe a mixed build. Maybe a mixed build. But again, mixed builds have to kind of ramp up. In the laning phase, one item's not going to get a mixed build off the ground. So there you go. And that is everything. I mean, there's some VXS updates for Janna, who is a support. Keep that in mind. We'll talk about the skins, of course, because just in case, right? Like Aphelios is getting a skin. Might see more Aphelios in your bot lane games. Let's see. Set, Syndra, Soraka. Soraka's a support. You might see more Sorakas in your games. Tristana, you might see more Tristana in your games, at least for the first couple days that people want to play these skins. But that's actually everything. So for AD carry tier list, I do like the Jinx changes. I think Jinx was kind of holding on, you know. I'm obviously biased, but so most people would actually have Jinx more like as a B tier champion. I actually think this would move her to A tier. And I think specifically it's because it kind of just gives her more control over things like CSing a little bit better. But also, the ultimate, right? More damage. How many times has someone walked away in the past couple of patches with like a sliver of health on an ability that's supposed to do execute damage, and you're just like, man, if only. And now here's the if only. It's only 50 damage, but it calculates with the also missing health damage. Keep that in mind. So I would put her in A. I just wouldn't put her as the only champion in A, right? Like Kai'Sa, I feel like is really flexible now. I feel like she does a lot she can do now, and there you go. Especially with the more AP, so more mixed damage build, more AD build if you want. Even if you go full AP, like all of them are kind of good now again. So if she wasn't A tier, I'd move Kai'Sa up there as well. Twitch is an interesting one because Twitch is more of like a cheese build, right? Like cheese builds I'm having a hard time with because I'm like, I mean, it could be good. I don't play Twitch. This isn't a Let's Talk Twitch, it's Let's Talk Jinx. So maybe it's good, but it doesn't really change then the regular tier list, I guess I would say. So wherever Twitch you have Twitch, I think Twitch kind of stays there. Same with really any champions in these patch notes that are being changed that are just kind of like cheese stuff, like Tahm Kench and stuff like that. I don't really think that really changes. That's more of a support tier list. For the AD carry tier list, things like Caitlyn and stuff are still pretty powerful. Sivir was powerful, but I think you probably want to play other things besides Sivir at the moment. Even Ashe for that matter. But I wouldn't say Sivir's bad. Like Sivir's not like C tier suddenly. I just think more champions are viable as A tier potential. So we're seeing a lot more of those now than we did in the previous patch. Right, the previous patch we had people already there, and I don't think they're moving basically if you didn't see the previous video. I just think like Jinx maybe slots up into there now as well. I think Kai'Sa, if she wasn't there and she also was B tier, is now A tier because of the flexibility, which could be useful game to game. And there you go. But again, it's your opinion, so comment in the comment section down below with your own AD carry tier list. But thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, the actual subscribe button. But I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until next time, take care. ggGetJinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.